While teaching, Smith was suddenly hit by a soda can thrown by a student named Tay. He reacted quickly.
That motherfucker, man!
I don't like disorder in my room.
The entire class was stunned. Tay charged at him, ready to fight, but Smith effortlessly subdued him with a single move. The story begins with Jonathan Shale, a highly trained mercenary and former military operative. After completing a mission with his elite team, they discover that the operation was actually illegal. This shocking truth leads to the entire team being discharged, stripped of their assignments, and relieved of command. After the team disbanded, each member went their separate ways. Unemployed, Shale returned to Miami to rest and figure out his next move. The story shifts to the vibrant city of Miami, where Jane Hetzko, a dedicated high school teacher, is in the middle of class, fully focused on supporting her students in what seems like a peaceful environment. The peaceful setting is quickly shattered when chaos erupts on campus. A violent brawl breaks out among the students, but it's clear this isn't a random incident. It's a targeted ambush aimed at one student. Despite the danger, Jane and Mr. Sherman rush in to intervene, trying to break up the fight and protect the student under attack. Surprisingly, the student they rescued denies needing help, clearly afraid of being seen as weak after the fight. Jane then tries to reach out to Juan Lucas, the one who started it all. Juan isn't just an ordinary student. He's the feared leader of a gang known as the Kings of Destruction, or KOD for short. With firmness and compassion, Jane speaks to him like a concerned mother, urging him to think about his future and make better choices. Jane tries to reach out to Juan with genuine concern, encouraging him to think about his future and make the right choices. But Juan responds with coldness, mocking, and threatening her, making it clear she should stay out of his way. Still shaken, Jane and Mr. Sherman immediately go to Principal Claude Roll to report the incident. Jane and Mr. Sherman urge Principal Roll to take action against Juan and his gang, especially after Jane reveals she was directly threatened. However, Principal Roll dismisses their concerns, claiming there isn't enough clear evidence to take disciplinary action. Frustrated, Jane storms out of the office, vowing to find proof herself. After school, as she approaches her car, she finds herself surrounded by members of the KOD gang. The lock has been sealed with something that looks like chewing gum, preventing her from getting inside. The gang members mock and harass Jane as she struggles to unlock her car. Juan makes a provocative gesture, but Jane doesn't back down. She responds with a defiant gesture of her own. Finally, she manages to unlock the car and drives off, leaving their insults behind.
See you later, hotheads!
Back home, Jane is relieved to see Shale waiting for her. They embrace, happy to reunite after time apart. Shale explains that he's been discharged from the military, and the two talk about the future, wondering what his next step might be. Not long after, Shale receives a voicemail from a former teammate offering a job that could bring in some income. They agree to meet at a strip club to discuss the details. Joey, a trusted teammate, encourages Shale to consider the opportunity and introduces him to a client along with a rival named John Janus, who would later try to kill him. Shale quickly realizes the job involves protecting drug shipments from gangs and government interference. As a man of principle, he refuses to take part. By walking away, he makes it clear there's a difference between a soldier and a hired killer. The next morning, Jane went for a jog near the beach, unaware that a KOD gang member was lying in wait. He ambushed her, brutally attacking her and breaking her knee. Fortunately, Shale was nearby, heard the commotion, and intervened just in time, forcing the attacker to flee. He rushed Jane to the hospital. While recovering, Jane confided her suspicion that the assault had been premeditated and likely connected to someone at the school. She pleaded with Shale to help cover for her during her absence. Shale promised to protect Jane and uncover who was behind the attack. While she rested, he decided to take over her teaching duties and use the opportunity to investigate and expose the culprit. He and his team devised a plan to infiltrate the school under a new identity, hiding his connection to Jane. Using the alias James Smith, Shale applied for a job and was quickly invited for an interview. During the interview, the principal appeared friendly and informed Smith that he would be on probation at first. Smith promised to do his best to fill in for Jane. While maintaining a calm and professional demeanor, he remained focused on his true objective, uncovering Jane's attacker and exposing all the corruption within the school. On his first day of teaching, Smith entered a chaotic and unruly classroom, but he stayed calm, introduced himself, and began taking attendance. As he observed the students, he quickly noticed their apathy toward learning and the lack of discipline. Later, in the teacher's lounge, Smith reunited with Mr. Sherman and was introduced to the school librarian, Hannah Dylan. In a brief conversation, Sherman warned him that the KOD gang had a dangerous and covert grip on the school. Hannah shared her suspicion that the KOD gang was behind Jane's attack and revealed that Juan Lucas was the gang's leader. She even hinted that Principal Roll might be colluding with them. Although Sherman defended Roll, claiming he was a former police officer who wouldn't do anything unethical, Smith began to have doubts. During a private conversation, he noticed unusual details like the expensive gold watch Roll wore, which didn't match the salary of a school principal. Their conversation turned into a quiet battle of wits, each cautiously probing the other through carefully chosen words. When Smith brought up the watch, Claude Roll cleverly deflected by asserting his authority over the students and claiming the watch was a gift from the junior league. He hinted that anyone trying to take it would have to get past his control. The conversation ended with a remark implying that power mattered more than justice, deepening Smith's suspicion. That night, Smith contacted his former military team and devised a covert plan to monitor the school by installing cameras to track KOD gang activity and gather evidence. Though hesitant at first, most of the team eventually agreed to help. The next day, while teaching a lesson on the Vietnam War, Smith was hit with a crushed soda can thrown by a student named Tai Yi. With lightning-fast reflexes, he caught it midair and hurled it back, striking Tay on the forehead. The class was stunned. Tay lunged forward to fight, but Smith quickly subdued him with a simple move. He then approached another student, Rodriguez, whom he had noticed carrying a sharp, chisel-like object. The class immediately fell silent. Smith took control and began teaching, gradually earning their respect. Tai and Rodriguez later went to the nurse and reported the incident to Principal Roll, who immediately sent security officer Marvin to the classroom. However, Marvin was surprised to find the class completely orderly, with students attentively listening. He returned to report back, leaving Roll stunned and prompting him to postpone any disciplinary action until the class ended. During the lesson, tensions rose as Lacasse, the leader of the KOD gang, deliberately tried to provoke Smith with a veiled threat. However, Smith remained calm and composed. At the end of the day, Smith monitored the school through the hidden cameras installed by Skids. He noticed Principal Claude Roll heading toward his classroom. Responding quickly, Smith made everything appear normal. When Roll entered, he expressed concern that some students were planning to file a complaint against Smith and asked him to apologize to avoid being fired. Smith, well versed in the law, reminded Roll that firing a teacher requires proper procedure and at least 2 weeks' notice. Smith's confidence and firm stance left Roll unsettled. Growing suspicious, Roll ordered a background check on Smith, but only found fabricated records created by Smith's team to conceal his true identity. Later, Smith drove Jane home. Inside, she discovered a heartfelt letter from a few students expressing their gratitude and concern for her well-being. Moved by the gesture, Jane broke down in tears. Smith tried to comfort her, but heightened emotions led to a brief argument. Despite the tension, they still cared deeply for each other and remained committed to their shared mission. The next morning, Smith returned to class, ready to teach. Juan Lucas and his crew deliberately arrived late to provoke him. Smith calmly handled the situation by ordering Juan to write an apology on the board 100 times. Realizing that openly defying the teacher would only cause more trouble, Juan had no choice but to comply. Juan agreed to comply but didn't hold back a threat. Unfazed, Smith quickly shifted the atmosphere by launching into a thoughtful discussion, starting by calling on a student named Jerome. Smith posed questions about the future, personal goals, and the consequences of current actions, gradually capturing the class's attention. The students' defensiveness began to fade as they realized he was challenging them to think beyond the streets. The discussion became emotional and eye-opening, forcing them to confront reality. After class, Roll unexpectedly showed up and expressed how impressed he was with how Smith handled Juan without resorting to violence. He invited Smith to his office after the faculty meeting, but in reality, he was plotting with Juan Lacasse to have him assassinated, believing it was time to eliminate Smith for good. However, Smith was one step ahead. He monitored the meeting through surveillance cameras and prepared accordingly. As night fell, he put on a bulletproof vest, chose a strategic position in the library, and waited. When Juan and the group of armed thugs hired by Roll stormed in, a fierce confrontation broke out.
That's good enough. Freeze
Using
right there.
his military skills, Smith took down each attacker one by one and threw them out of the library. When Juan was taken down, a gang member grabbed Smith's gun and shot him. Thinking he was dead, they planned to kill the librarian and flee. But Smith suddenly got back up, took out the attacker, and threw him out the window, leaving Juan stunned by his strength. Outside, Roll had just left the building when he ran into Smith, who remained calm as if nothing had happened. Flustered, Roll tried to hide his panic while Smith casually asked about the meeting. Caught off guard, Roll gave a vague, uneasy response before walking away, neither of them revealing the truth. Elsewhere, Mr. Sherman visited Jane to comfort and talk with her. During their conversation, based on what he had learned, Sherman began to suspect that Smith was actually Shale Jane's husband and a former veteran. As more clues surfaced, he gradually pieced the truth together. Meanwhile, Joey Smith's teammate continued monitoring the KOD gang's activities, particularly Juan Lucas, and left a message for Smith with information about his whereabouts. That evening, they swapped vehicles to stay off the radar. When Smith returned home, Jane, still shaken, confronted him. She had discovered his true identity and now understood the real reason he was at the school, thanks to what Sherman had told her. Smith didn't deny it, but chose to open up to Jane, explaining that he believed Roll was working with the KOD gang and that he was committed to taking them down to protect the students and restore the school. The team continued monitoring KOD. One day, Joey called Smith to a location near the docks, suspecting a major drug deal was about to go down. There, they observed the KOD gang negotiating with a group of buyers. Once the deal was confirmed, Smith and Joey launched a surprise attack. Smith took on the KOD members, while Joey targeted the buyers on the boat. Amid the chaos, Holland, a teammate who had previously opposed the mission, ordered Bull to take down Smith. A fierce fight broke out between Smith and Bull, with both landing heavy blows. In the end, Smith defeated Bull. Impressed by his determination, the opposing teammates changed their minds and joined forces. They seized the drug money and dumped the remaining stash into the sea. The next morning, Roll watched the news about the drug bust. Still in shock, he received a threatening call from the drug kingpin demanding compensation for the losses. Panicked, Roll rushed to the school to confront Juan, only to realize that Smith was the one behind it all. Smith didn't hold back and openly stated that all the confiscated money had been used to upgrade school facilities and buy free pizza for the students. As he shared the good news, Roll suddenly stormed in and fired him on the spot. Despite this, Smith's actions earned support from the students and Mr. Sherman, who now fully backed him. Sherman offered more direct help, but Smith warned him to be cautious, as Roll might be working with the enemy. Though Sherman wanted to believe Roll was innocent, his judgment was clouded by loyalty. That night, Smith once again became the target of a violent attack carried out by KOD members and their corrupt allies, who were growing increasingly desperate. Smith became an assassination target as his undercover work began exposing illegal operations. Despite being shot at and rammed into a house by a car, he survived thanks to his quick reflexes and military training. At the same time, Mr. Sherman, who supported Smith and opposed the gang, was trying to gather evidence of drug trafficking in the school's basement. However, he was ambushed by Juan Tallis and Principal Roll himself, who was secretly involved in the criminal operation. Tragically, Sherman was killed during the confrontation. However, a student who witnessed the incident provided crucial information to Smith and the authorities. By the next morning, news had spread quickly throughout the school and the community. The corrupt principal, working with the KOD gang, spread false rumors that Smith had been killed, leaving many teachers and students mourning and fearful for the school's future. But everyone was stunned when Smith suddenly reappeared alive and well. His return sent shockwaves through those involved with the gang and served as a clear message that the corrupt forces wouldn't win so easily. As tensions peaked, Smith confronted Wolson, a member secretly supporting KOD's drug operations. The intense confrontation exposed the severe level of corruption within the school's leadership. Meanwhile, KOD retaliated by attacking Jane's house, shattering windows, shouting threats, and trying to intimidate her. At the same time, a student who had witnessed Mr. Sherman's murder decided to find Smith and reveal the truth. She and a friend went to his house to tell him what had happened. Juan took the students hostage and waited for Smith to arrive. Unaware that Smith was actually Shale, the gang let him into the house. However, after a few counterattacks, they quickly overpowered him. Juan then called his boss and revealed that Smith and Shale were the same person. Upon hearing the truth, the boss immediately ordered Smith to be killed. This brutal retaliation revealed the gang's willingness to do whatever it took to maintain control and silence anyone who stood against them. Just as Juan was about to pull the trigger, the doorbell rang. It was the landlady. While Jane tried to get her to leave, Shale seized the opportunity to stab one of the guards in the leg and took down most of the gang members. However, he couldn't save Jane in time as Juan pointed a gun at her, forcing Shale to surrender. At that moment, a student shot Juan, rescuing Jane. As the chaos settled, Smith shifted his focus to Claude Roll, the mastermind behind it all, setting the stage for the final showdown. At the school, Smith and his allies prepared for the final battle against the KOD gang to reclaim the campus. A fierce fight erupted, turning classrooms into war zones, causing heavy casualties and revealing the extent of destruction caused by the gang's influence. Despite the losses, Smith's team fought with skill and determination, eliminating key members and weakening KOD's grip. Some allies made the ultimate sacrifice. One was shot in the head, while another detonated himself to take out enemies in a desperate situation. Amid the chaos, Rolla suddenly emerged from hiding and shot Holland from behind before lying in wait, preparing to ambush Smith. Cautiously approaching, Smith turned off the lights before revealing himself. A brutal fight erupted between him and Claude, who was now furious and desperate. Smith delivered tactical blows but was shot in the shoulder. The shooter was immediately taken down by Holland. With only Smith and Claude left, they engaged in a final showdown. Claude managed to grab a gun and aimed it at Smith, demanding to know his motives. Smith replied that some things can't be taught, then delivered the final blow, ending Claude's life. Shale left the school and found Joey injured but alive. In the end, only Smith and Joey survived the battle. With the gang dismantled and the corrupt figures eliminated, the school began to recover, and students and teachers gradually reclaimed a safe environment for learning.